welcome to the Old Man Orange podcast. I'm Spencer Scott Holmes.
And I'm Ryan Dunigan.
Before we all kind of get started, I just want to do a little shout out. I was on Chris the Mole Man's Couch Potato Files podcast just the other day, and we had a good old time just talking all kinds of fun stuff. And he's been on the Old Man Orange podcast before, so you might remember that episode from, 50 plus episodes back or something like that. But what I always like about Chris is he just feels like he's kind of like the same guy as us. Plus, he's like one of the only West Coast podcasters I can think of. West Coast is being Arizona.
At the time he was on our show, he was a really cool guy and was really fun to talk to. And I listened to a few of his episodes, and I'd like to get him back on at some point.
I know, he's just always fun. I just kind of like his podcast, he's always just trying something different. Like, hey, talk some conspiracies. Hey, let's talk some monster stuff. Let's talk, whatever comes to my mind and so on. I just kind of like I'm just going to do whatever I want and just kind of, try it out and see what happens.
Even if you don't believe conspiracy theory shit, it's always just fun to listen to. It's just kind of fun to, once you get to flat earth stuff, that's where, it's fun to listen to, just are you fucking serious? Okay, go on. Explain.
Well, it's like storytelling, you know what I mean? It's just really interesting stories people kind of come up with at the end of the day.
Yeah, I won't go into that. We could do a whole podcast just shitting on flat Earth people. And there's a lot of things there's some weird beliefs out there, but I kind of get. I don't agree with it, but I can kind of see how some people don't have trust in certain people or whatever. But then you get to something like flat Earth, all right, you're a fucking idiot. I don't care who you are, what kind of life you lived. If you believe the Earth is flat, you're a fucking idiot. I'm sorry.
Well, it's almost like you just take him and be like, here, watch, I'll prove you completely wrong. We're gonna look across the ocean here. See how it curves away?
Yeah.
We have just proven we're round. Didn't even have to go into space or take a plane or anything.
Well, it's funny because you talk to people like, well, have you ever? Well, I've never been in a spaceship, so how do you know for a fact? Well, few people have been in a spaceship, but I have been in a plane, and I do see a curve when we take off. Well, that's just some television screen they have on the fucking. This is actually a conversation I've had. This is a conversation I heard.
Uh-huh.
I actually just was curious. Looked up a debate. I'm like, are you fucking kidding me? Okay. Well, it's very fitting. We're talking about. Well, in some way, I guess it's kind of fitting. We're talking about Earth shit because we're talking about Titan A.E. today is a retrospect.
Exactly, so kind of going into that, and real quickly, right before we get started, just want to say, make sure to check out our, give us a, review, rate us, all that fun stuff, whether it be on Newgrounds, YouTube, iTunes, Podbean, and so on. I guess you can't really do it on Podbean or Spotify, but whatever, just want to say,
you can follow us on Spotify.
Yeah, follow us on Spotify, share it, do all that kind of fun stuff. All those little things help out. And then also check out Pizza Boys. Got issue 5 up right now. You can check that out on Amazon and Comix Central. Coming up on Comixology soon. Got the graphic novel out there and everything like that. So yeah, just want to give those little shout outs before we get started. But yeah, what we're talking about today is Titan A.E., the classic 2000, with a very late 90s kind of vibe animated picture. That was also, sadly, the last Fox animated picture.
Defense shields have been penetrated.
Enemy warships have entered Earth's solar system.
Deploy the last wave of fighters. Taking heavy fire!
Final warning. Prepare for thermal attack.
Evacuate! Evacuate! Launch remaining escape craft!
Without a planet, we're no longer a threat.
Hey, it's me, it's Kale.
Humans. Wait.
The Titan was the key to finding a new homeworld. Your father hid the Titan. He knew the Dredge would come after him. The only way to find it is in your hand.
Me?
The Dredge wants you, only dead.
How do you know they want me dead? I happen to be humanity's last great hope.
I weep for the species.
Get down!
Titan A.E.
Now, thing about this movie, it took a while for it to get made. It was, I think, originally as late back as like, I think it was something as late back as somewhere in like 97 or something like that. They had this script floating around.
Oh, even earlier than that, because that's when they hired all the actors for the voice acting was in 97.
97? Yeah. I lost the date on here, but it was a while back. They were trying to get this thing made. And for when they're like, maybe we'll make it a live action movie, and then they're like just trying to toss it around. They just couldn't get it going. They're like, fuck it. And they just kicked this thing to the curb, and they spent
$30 million just on like trying things out. Like that's how much money they wasted trying to make this into a live action movie and not having anything come of it. That's kind of sad.
Yeah. And the director at the time, Art Vitello, was just kicked to the curb. And like, we don't fucking know. And they were like, well, you know what? Our movie Anastasia just wrecked house, like just competing with Disney. So, and we had Don Bluth and Gary Goldman, who were Disney.
We got Don Bluth, we got Gary Oldman.
I couldn't help but almost think Gary. It's very close.
Yeah.
No, he just got off Sid and Nancy and just wanted to try his hand in the animation. No. They had, because, they were Disney veterans, and in the late 70s, they didn't like the way Disney was going. So, like, fuck this, we're going to make our own studio. And that's how we got things like, The Secrets of Nim.
Land
Before Time. American Tail. Thumbelina.
All Dogs Go to Heaven.
Even Rockadoodle, which is one we really kicked down and made fun of on an audio commentary. But it's still like the animation and some of the character designs are still really great in that.
It still takes me back whenever I watch that movie. It just reminds me of like, oh my god, we're back in 1994 again or whatever.
It's just such a weird combination of things, But that movie's still a testament to all their animation skills, though.
Yeah, exactly. And then there's also, they have the Dragon Layers games and Space Ace and so on. So Don Bluth always kind of reminds me of like, you have Disney, and then if there was somebody else who was like just ginormously huge in animation, it's Don Bluth. And you'd say also Gary Goldman too, even though I know he doesn't get the same amount of credit, but he's always there too with him. But those two guys are really like the other like really big section of animation. Like almost if you talk to somebody who maybe didn't even know a whole lot other than just watching movies, if they named off a handful of movies, I bet you they would name off a Don Bluth one at some point, and Gary Goldman.
So a couple things kicked this off. They're like, look, even though we just made a fuck ton of money with Anastasia due to whatever reason and just different economic reasons, we're gonna have to lay a bunch of people off unless we get a movie going. Like, we got this sci-fi script right here. We can try to make this into an animated movie, probably cheaper than doing it live action. It's like, okay, yeah, just run with it, just go with it. So they start doing that, and apparently the script went through 15 different revisions. And I'll say, as we go into the movie, I like this movie. I think this movie's totally worth watching. I do see some of the rewrites in it, though. I could definitely see. I feel like this movie, parts of it seem a little rushed, and I almost feel like this movie could have almost been like another 15 minutes longer, or they could have just like maybe switched out one little part we'll get to as we talk about the movie. But as it goes on, though, this also is one of those things like, back when around the same time, 2 years later, Treasure Planet would come out by Disney, and that movie right there, that was also made by some longtime Disney guys that were Ron Clements and John Musker, who they were just longtime Disney veteran guys. They worked on Black Cauldron. That thing tanked. Like, look, we really want to make Treasure Island in space. Like, okay, yeah, we'll get to that.
It's funny how they announced it. Like, we really want to make Treasure Island. There's like a slight pause. In space!
At the time, that was probably an original thought process. In space. Wait, what? At the time, that would be like, really? Oh, wow. Go on. But they kept on pitching that, and it was like one of those things, we'll give it to you one day, just keep on going. The thing they had another idea, which was Little Mermaid, and that got shot up. And then as time went on, they're like, okay, finally, we'll give you your little Treasure Planet movie. And
they're like, we want your Little Mermaid in space! They're like, well, we could do it, just to take the space part out. Oh, just ruining all my fun plan. How about Aladdin? Is? Oh, yeah, we get it. Space.
How about they fly up in the sky and they're really close to space at some point in time?
He's got
They
a magic
fly right
carpet.
back down.
He wraps the monkey around like a helmet, and now he can travel into space.
You know what? We won't tell them. Like, yeah, sure, that's a good idea. We'll change it in the rewrite. Don't worry, they can't fucking do nothing. We'll just say yes. We'll pull the rug out from under them. We're Disney. It's what we fucking do. We'll fly out from under.
Pull the magic rug out from underneath them.
Like, let them hit the hard, harsh ground of reality. Like that fucking magic rug.
Let them fall face first on a lamp.
Oh, sorry, that ain't magic. Ain't gonna grant no fucking wishes. No. So Treasure Planet. One of the things I think that got that going was, oh wait, they're making a. They just beat us with. They just beat the fuck out of us with Anastasia using our own format and our own formula. What if they're doing a sci-fi thing? What if we like give these guys a chance with the Treasure Planet thing? So it's kind of funny how even though that movie came out 2 years later, and that wasn't critically panned, but it didn't do good at the box office, and there's also these weird thought processes of like, oh well, at that time they switched out Disney CEO, so this guy had no obligations to the guys making the movie, so he didn't give a fuck. So that's one of the reasons why it crashed or whatever. All these different thought processes, and
also the other thing too is that was just when Pixar and things like and CG movies were taken over, so that almost I think has an effect on these kind of movies, and that those early like 2000s, like the last of the last almost like 2D movies, or at least partial 2D movies, they all generally got pretty affected, I think, just by people like, oh, why is it not like Pixar? That Pixar is like way better than that stupid hand-drawn crap. Looks like my grandpappy did it. And I think that was kind of the process. Unless you're like Lilo and Stitch. Lilo and Stitch is like one of the few that kind of got away with it, but none of the others seem to really like, you know, it's not, maybe they didn't do bad, but they were not making that Disney cash like they were in the 90s, or like Anastasia or Fern Gully or any of those movies, you know. And, you know, because even like the last Disney one where they kind of like said, fuck it, pull the plug on it, this is stupid, was Princess and the Frog, and that's a great movie, but sometimes I always feel like I hate to bring it up, but I know for a fact that the reason why that movie also didn't do well too is just we just know that people just do not, like, especially like throughout middle America and so on in small areas, just do not show up as much to like a black movie as they do to a white movie, sadly.
Unless he's in a Panther outfit.
Yeah, unless he's in a Panther outfit. Fuck, that changes everything apparently. And clearly a Falcon outfit does not make up for that. You would think Falcon outfit would be close enough. Falcon outfit's apparently lame to white people.
We might get there one day. We might get there. I hope we do, because I like Falcon a lot.
I know, that's one of my favorite Avengers, but still, I feel so bad for that poor guy.
But one of the reasons why, and we'll get back to, I think it's probably one of the reasons why Titan A.E. was expensive, because you could see a similar kind of animation. Well, I mean, Titan A.E., they look like they're very heavily rotoscoped, and they were really like trying to make the human characters look realistic as possible, while the aliens look kind of like very Don Bluthish, where something like Treasure Planet, they look like characters. They have very exaggerated features and all that, but it's something that made that, because you talked about the hybrid between CG and 2D, that was something they started with Tarzan, I think. Maybe it was something. Maybe there's other examples.
Well, no, because
the big thing, Tarzan, it wasn't the only. It was
Beauty
the
and
first,
the Beast has it in there, in like the dance in the ballroom scene.
It wasn't. Well, it was one of the thing where it totally started with Tarzan, but Tarzan they kind of found a way to perfect it, because what they do is, okay, we have these scenes where he's sliding and doing all like these surfer like moves through trees and all that. That's going to be a motherfucker to animate. So what we're going to do is we're going to make this entire CG scene, and then we're just going to lay over a 2D Tarzan doing all this shit. So it makes it a lot easier for the animators. And, you know, you give it the cell shade thing, or it just moves by real quick, can't tell. The thing with Treasure Planet is, like, there's a couple of scenes where Tarzan did that. Treasure Planet is most that, and that was expensive as fuck. So, and you had some of that as well in Titan A.E. And Titan A.E. reached the point where they only had 19 months to make the movie. They really, like, just gave them a low budget of what they wanted, and they ended up having to lay people off in the process of the movie, which is one of the reasons why the movie was made in the first place, so people wouldn't get laid off, and had to outsource work to various locations.
You know what's the weird thing, too, is this movie is, like, ridiculously expensive. It was, like, $90 million to make Titan A.E., which that's, like, in that time period, that's more expensive than, like, most live-action movies. And the weird thing about that, too, it's just, like, if you compare that to, like, a DCU movie, shit, you could have made probably about half of, like, the DCU movies in, like, the last 10 years for that budget, if not more, because they're all made for anywhere between, like, $2 to $10 million a piece.
Well, is that one of those things where in the long haul of it, it costs that much just for how many years it sat on the shelf and they're trying to get it up and just crashed? Or is that just
It probably is like the entire Titan A.E. budget from day one to being finished. I think that's kind of what's in there. I mean, granted, but by the time they started Titan A.E., remember, they were already $30 million in the hole. Mm-hmm. So they were already more expensive than, $30 million would be like an expensive animated movie. You know? So... That's already expensive, and then they tried. It was almost this movie there was no way that this movie was ever going to make its money back. I mean, it only earned $36.8 million, which is still technically good, but not when you have a $90 million film. But and animated movies just don't. Not every animated movie is going to be like the biggest, ginormous cash cow.
I guess they had a lot riding on that. It's like, well, they did good with Anastasia, so don't fuck it up again.
Yeah, and then Don Bluth and Gary Goldman are like, well, we're not really into this whole sci-fi thing. You better fucking do it. People's jobs are on the line. Donnie. Gary, come on, guys. Figure it out. They go to a window and look down. There's a bunch of animators working and be like, you don't want these guys to have to go home and live out in the street, do you? What else are they going to do? They don't know how to do anything else. They're animators. They don't have real people skills. Donnie. Gary.
If they don't have a pencil,
Bob, go down there. Fire one of them. Fire one of them in front of everybody else just to prove a point. Come on, Donnie, watch this. Come on, Gary, you get over here too. Fuck it. Okay, this guy goes down there. Be like, they're looking down through this window from a high up office, looking down on these animators. So you don't even hear it. All you see is a guy stand up, what, man? What? Acting what's going on? No, you get your shit out of here. He takes his pens and throws them on the ground, flips up his table. The guy runs out crying and everything like that. He points around to everybody else. They start working twice as hard.
No, he runs back up. He runs back up to the stairs. Okay, now let's go to the window. Watch out the window. He just runs around the corner at the window. You just see him start sucking dick. See, it didn't even take that long. He's already in the street.
They're animators. They don't know how to do it. You know what I mean? They don't even know how to, budget their own cash that they get. They just blow it on action figures and weird prints and shit. They're just giant kids. I don't know how this shit works. I work in business.
Money
I got
works.
A real job.
So make some shit about Earth exploding and how Matt Damon has to save us all.
It's like fucking Noah's Ark, but in space. God, that guy's fucking just stuck in my brain now.
It really has a ring to it, doesn't it?
Catching on. The writer's down there. He's like, it's catching on. I know it is. My space thing.
Well, they were also trying to make, they said their demographic, and it fucking worked, because I saw this thing day one in theaters when it happened. They said, well, we know at this age, boys start to kind of roll their eyes at animation. It's kids shit. Why do I want to watch this kid shit?
Why are they fucking singing? It's super gay. Remember, it's 90s.
Yeah, so now they knew that. They knew that's how kids would react. And I remember telling some friends, I'm going to go see Titan A.E. It's whatever. It's not anime. Anime is the only good animation. You hear that?
I know, that's the worst part, because right when this movie came out, I think that's probably another thing that had to go against it, is because anime just was booming right then, and it instantaneously changed every American kid really quickly to being the throw American stuff to the fucking curb. So that probably was another big factor against the movie, too.
Yeah, and then the thing from there... they said, okay, so let's try and avoid the whole song and dance thing, but let's try and make it just a movie that a kid can go see, but it's not treated like a kid's movie. And it definitely shows in that, even in the writing. Mm-hmm. I kind of see a little bit of Joss Whedon's writing. Apparently, he's not a fan of the movie, because maybe his draft really got rewritten a couple of times or something. But I definitely see a little bit of his writing in the movie.
Well, sometimes I think that's how writers sort of are. So if their draft gets so radically changed, even if the movie's good, they just look and go, what the fuck did he do to my stuff? What's wrong with my shit? Fuck those guys. I think they just start getting that attitude. Almost like Tarantino with Natural Born Killers. I think he just gets that attitude kind of it's if you take Natural Born Killers and look at it in, from a different perspective, it's a movie. It's fucking awesome. I mean, maybe it's not your script, but you know what I mean? It's just a variation, but I think sometimes it's hard for people to break away and go let's just see what this adaptation's like of my, initial idea.
Well, you can kind of tell that just because in some aspects, slightly. I mean, it's still more of a sci-fi adventure movie than anything else, but it has some hangovers of a musical kind of Disney movie, and in that way, I mean, anytime there's an action scene or anytime they have something going on, they have a song to sell it. They're really trying to sell a soundtrack with this movie, and I know because I bought the soundtrack when I was a kid, so that's how So it works. It clearly worked.
Kyle had that soundtrack too. It had Power Man 5000 on it. I remember that being a big deal.
That was a big deal. Well, I feel bad for Power Man 5000 because then years later, I get Shadow the Hedgehog. Power Man 5000 did a song for that, and he's not the headlining song. So it's like, oh, come on, you're the brother of Rob Zombie. But
I know, I always feel bad for like, it's like feels like Rob never takes him on tour. He's like, hey, big brother, you want to take me on tour? You know what I mean? Got a new Power Man 5000 album out. Yeah, let's see here. Well, let me look at the schedule. Got Marilyn Manson always coming. Got to have Marilyn. He's like a brother to me.
Got Seven Dust. He's like a brother to me. Let me put it this way. A brother that doesn't disappoint.
And then I got the Slipknot boys, They're like the cousins we never had.
And then you got Corey from Slipknot doing a solo thing, and Corey you need some one-on-one time with Corey. You know how it is.
You gotta hang out with Corey and so on. Let's see here. Corn.
We see each other at Thanksgiving.
Kids like corn. Doesn't matter how old. Every generation, kids still love corn. You know what I mean? And corn just gives them corn to eat. So it's just kids listening to corn, eating corn on the cob. It's fucking weird, but it always works. I don't know why. It just does.
There's always a corn on the cob stand at every show of theirs for some reason. I mean...
just saying, I think the corn on the cob stand's gonna set us over. Maybe next tour. Maybe next time we'll have the Power Man 5000 boys back, Maybe we'll do a 90s, back in action thing, or early 2000s. I can't remember when the fuck it was. It was a while ago that you were last popular, wasn't it?
All right, go do a song for Crash Bandicoot. It was Shadow the Hedgehog, whatever.
Same fucking character. Rob Zombie out. Just like fucking surfs away like on like an old like hot rod thing that flies off into space. He's just like, the space gimmick's supposed to be my thing.
Hey man, I'm reaching out. You need to try it. No,
this is the other weird thing about that soundtrack. Literally, Chris Cornell wrote and recorded a song, and they didn't use it.
Yeah, I found that out, and I was listening to that song a couple times. And here's the thing. It's like, okay, looking at this list, the two biggest names on this list is Litz and Power Man 5000. And you had, I think Soundgarden was still together this time. If not, maybe they just broke up.
No, Soundgarden was broken up because I think because they had that, I think in 96 was their last album. Either that or that's when they did their greatest hits.
Super Unknown, or Down on the Upside?
Yeah, Super Unknown's like before that one.
I don't remember the chronological order. I think maybe Down on the Upside or something.
Yeah, I think it's Down on the Upside, because then their greatest hits album, I think, comes out in 96 or 97. Whenever a greatest hits album comes out, that's always a sure sign that the band must have just broken up and the records company wants to make some more money really quickly. Mm-hmm.
Wait, is Down on the Up? I'm trying to. I know. I mean, I love Chris Cornell, but I'm drawing a blank on the names of the albums when they all came out. I know. I mean, there's the earlier ones like Bad Motorfinger and Ultra Mega OK, which are the very, very early ones, and then
Louder Than Love.
And then when she gets to their later stuff, Down on the Upside, was that their best of, or is that their last album? I'm trying to remember.
Oh, good question off the top of my head. I can't remember.
Remember there's just like there's a song, "Follow Me into the Desert." I think that was their like last big single before they broke up. But not trying to make a musical here or anything. But it's just so weird to me. You got Chris Cornell. He's like, "Hey guys, I got a song for you," and it's just like, "Nah, it's okay. We got to make room for the Wailing Souls and Splashdown."
Yeah, exactly. Like, oh yeah, we don't need you. Oh yeah, Down on the Upside was the one. I had to take a look at that. And that's 96, so.
It's 96. So he was probably putting out, this is probably around...
probably his
Euphoria
first, maybe?
Morning.
Yeah.
Euphoria Morning, around when he was doing some tracks here and there. Like, when did whatchamacallit, Great Expectations...
I think that's 98.
98, so this is around that time. And it sounds, I looked it up, and it sounds a lot similar to something like... Sun Shower, which is one of my favorite songs by his.
I know, that's one of the best songs.
And it's by a movie I have no real intention to see, but
shit, I watched that movie because of that song. That was my literal reason for watching that movie. I'm like, fucking Chris Cornell has like, that's like one of the best Chris Cornell songs ever. The movie's got to be great, right? It's got fucking Robert De Niro in it. Why would it not be awesome? And it was that in the Pip episode from South Park, because that's what it's based off of.
Yeah, great.
The movie was not nearly as cool as the South Park episode / the Chris Cornell song.
No Genesis device in there. In the movie.
No robot monkeys either. I was pretty saddened.
Well, the movie, the song right there, it sounds a lot like something off his first solo album. Maybe even like his third, maybe even his fourth solo album. Not maybe his third, definitely not his third. But the song's called Heart of Honey.
It's a good song, too.
It's a weird name for a song, but I could even imagine that song at the credits right there. I could even imagine, like, it's almost kind of a little obscure, because most of the songs literally spell out for you what's going on. Like, there's the song, try and remember, Cosmic Castaway. Or not Castaway, there's the It's My Turn to Fly by The Urge. Mm-hmm. And I remember these because I listened to the fuck out of the soundtrack when I was a kid. It's like, It's My Turn to Fly. That song literally spells out the movie. My father disappeared into space, and now it's my turn to fly. You know, just like it's almost like beating it beat for beat, almost spelling out the whole fucking story for you. You're like, Chris, you're being a little kind of vague. We need you to literally tell us the whole fucking movie, because nearly everything else in here, Power Man 5000 is like, people are coming to kill me, and that's part of the song is in the movie. And then you had, like, anytime there's a girl singing, there's a song with a girl singing, that's a scene where Drew Barrymore's character, Akima's there, so... Mm-hmm.
Well, yeah, and that's the thing. And I think the other reason for, like, the soundtrack, too, was Heavy Metal 2000 just came out, and it sounds like such a weird one, but this movie, to me, always comes across as, like, a kid's kind of PG version of heavy metal. Like, that's sort of what it feels like. It almost... If this movie was rated R, it could have been it'll be like Heavy Metal 3, almost.
Not saying I need that, but I definitely, when you told me that first, I'm like, I never thought of that. That's a good point. And especially, just change a few things around. This feels like it could have been, I think this is better than Heavy Metal 2000, in all honesty. I think Heavy Metal 2000 probably has a better soundtrack. But this I think is a better movie. And
I do like Heavy Metal 2000 quite a bit, but I think it's because that movie... I just remember, like, my uncle coming up, and it was just, like, he was probably, like, 3 beers in, or something's like, oh, dude, you gotta fucking check this movie out. He's like, dude, this is, like, sick as shit. And it's like, he would sit down, he's like, dude, this is, like, Heavy Metal 2000. It was just like, oh, cool. And this is before Titan A.E., so I was going into that one beforehand. It's like, this is awesome.
That is definitely, like, the movie your uncle's like, don't tell your fucking dad, here, watch this shit.
And that was totally the movie it was, so it's like... I always kind of have, like, Heavy Metal 2000, I don't like nearly as much as, like, the original Heavy Metal one. That movie's just, to me, is, like, pure gold. But I do like 2000 still. It still is a fun movie. I would say it's probably, for me, it's about, like, on par with Titan A.E. Like, I couldn't tell you exactly which one I like more. I like them both.
I guess because I saw Titan A.E., and that was, this is no real major criticism here. It's just kind of, personal shit. I guess I saw Titan A.E. at a young age. That movie really stuck with me, and then I saw Heavy Metal 2000 later in life. Mm-hmm. So I think that definitely has something to do with it right there. But yeah, if you made this movie rated R, you made, like, anytime they bump into some evil alien character and it was some evil alien chick that was hot or whatever, and Akima was walking around half naked or something, I think this would definitely be, this is the new Heavy Metal movie.
Yeah, it's not that far off. And I do kind of wonder if, because the thing about this movie is it has, like, a mixed match of being, like, trying to be almost, like, a very realistic feeling movie, but then also still having a bit of cartooniness to it. And I always kind of wondered if that sort of affected it. Because, once again, if you're trying to appeal to, like, the 10-year-old boys... you're going to get kind of a mixed match audience. You're going to get the kids who are like, oh, this is awesome. I just love cartoons. And then you're going to get the guys like, impress me. Like, what's so good about this? Why is those cartoon characters in here? I need realistic stuff. Japan doesn't do this to me. They don't pander to me. They know who I am. They know my target audience. Hiroshima really knows who I am. Who's Hiroshima? I don't know. He's just some guy that probably creates stuff. Him and Nagasaki, they make everything.
Along with their friends Sanyo and Mitsubishi.
He's just naming off just Japanese names. And Bob, I saw that once in the credits. I don't know. Fuck you.
I saw it. I'm thinking of the guy in Last Samurai. Tom Cruise was friends with a guy named Bob. At least he called him Bob because it was easy for him to remember.
Exactly. So I wonder if that kind of has some kind of things too. And then the other thing too, it's kind of interesting is, You know, if you think about most Disney movies, I always feel they're generally targeted towards women. They almost make them like they're made for girls. If a boy, but there's, you know, a boy can still watch them, but they're generally like, I feel like their target audience is always girls. You know what I mean? Think about most of them.
Yeah,
you know, you got Beauty and the Beast, you got Little Mermaid, you got Sleeping Beauty, you know, all those ones like that. They're mostly always about a princess who always kind of finds a guy, who always has to go through struggles and so on. Every once in a while, you get the man ones. You get like Robin Hood, or you get like Aladdin or something like that. And this is like
just imagine it's just Man Fest. We're gonna watch. It's a manathon. We're gonna watch Fight Club, Casino Royale, Heavy Metal, and Robin Hood.
Oh
Disney
shit! Which
version.
Robin Hood we watching? Like the Prince of Thieves one? No, fuck that. We're watching the Fox one.
Fuck yeah! Who brought the Coors?
Yeah. Come on, let's get the soundtrack going. Robin Hood and Little John running through the forest, grabbing ass and grabbing dick and doing all the fun. Is that the lyrics? I don't know. Fuck shit. That's what it always sounded like to me.
They look like they just got done from fucking behind a tree when they're all walking down there. Just like, I don't know. You look at them, they're just doing. It's like total what do you call it? When they use the same animation over and over. It was definitely the same animation. Not recycling, but isn't there another name for it? Like some kind of technique? Not rotoscoping.
Yeah, cycle.
But cycle. Well, maybe it was cycle. It's definitely like old footage of like Mowgli and Baloo walk in, but they just put Robin Hood and then the Baloo over it.
Oh, they pretty much just like traced in a sense.
Yeah. Just like they look high as fuck right now. I'm pretty sure they just got done blowing each other from behind that tree. Like, are you gonna tell anybody? No, I'm not gonna tell anybody as they're walking.
I know. You know, that's like one of my favorite Disney movies no matter what. I still love that one. But Titan A.E., it's kind of weird because, you know, you think about, like, a lot of these animated movies aren't made for guys too much, you know what I mean? So it's interesting when they sort of have one. Like, I always feel like Toy Story is another one, too, where that was kind of a big deal because it felt like, hey, this is kind of a movie for, you know, an animated movie for guys, you know what I mean? Pretty much the guy ones always seem like, you take out the singing, you make it, you know, you make the, you know, about, like, a buddy comedy almost or something like that, you know? Making out stuff that kids actually, you know, boys actually care about, like action figures and cowboys and spacemen.
There'll be a doll there, but she'll be the girlfriend. That's all she fucking does.
Yeah, she stays at home and makes sure the dishes are clean for when the men get back. Guy movie, or it's like, you know, lad. It's like it's a guy movie. It's a man and his monkey. Like, come on, what more do you need than that? And then he's got his genie friend, who's just like a big buff bodybuilder guy. Come on,
who's also his slave.
He's also a slave. He's blue. It's okay.
No, so you get
Aladdin, you know, he's practically black. You know what I mean? I don't know shit. It's, you know, it's over there.
He's stander than me.
He's stander than me. He's black in my opinion. We'll get a nice white boy to play him though. Don't want to
scare people off too much. No, there's like, when they get to this movie, it kind of even starts off feeling like, oh, look, it's very nice, scenic, you know, it's a little boy by a lake. It's like, we gotta get the fuck out of here! The dredge are fucking coming! Like, what? We gotta get out of here. And then, like, all of a sudden, they're all trying to flee. And then it suddenly goes from being, like, having this... Because at the very beginning, it looks like traditional classic... Well, even super, super rotoscoped animation, which still looks good, though.
Yeah, I always like rotoscope. I'm a big fan of that anyways.
And then once they get up there... And then it's a lot of darker, paler colors once they're trying to get away. I guess, you know, trying to give that sense of dread. And from there, once they actually jump years later, after the planet's destroyed, and the dad gives the kid the ring, like that's also one of those things. I don't think they clash. I think it's a good contrast. But how realistic they try to make the humans look, and then you have the aliens, which look very like Don Bluth-ish, like cartoony.
Yeah, and that's the only thing I feel like it even to this day, whenever I watch the movie, it sort of takes me out just a little bit. I mean, it's not that bad, but like they just look like they almost like came out of, it's like a crossover. It almost feels like Marvel versus Capcom, where it's like this, like, okay, well, I see two different animation styles going on here at the same time, and you know, it works, but it's kind of a little bit different, you know, and that's how this feels. It's just like I almost feel if they would have just made all the aliens just look a little bit more realistic looking, I think it would have gave it a little bit better overall tone.
Mm. Well, I could also see that just being, well, we got Don Bluth for a reason. So Don Bluth and Gary Goldman, not to leave him out. He just you know, you go to Don Bluth because you just think of that guy a lot. But
because this was his first PG movie too, I want to say, are these guys' first PG movie?
Secrets of NIMH wasn't PG?
No, it was G still, even though it's dark.
PG is still at this time. PG was like, oh my god, there's a Disney movie that's PG. What the fuck? But now PG ain't shit. PG is just like,
well, almost
okay,
nobody makes PG anymore. It's so rare for a movie to come out that's PG. It almost throws me off when I see it's like PG. Like what? You know what I mean? Like what is this movie that it's PG?
When they're saying the Sonic movie that will, if it ever comes out, when they're saying we want to make that PG-13, that's already one of those things like, oh, okay, well, times are changing. That's what Bob Dylan was singing about.
He's singing about when the Sonic Hedgehog movie comes out at PG-13. The times are... Sonic the Hedgehog. Who the fuck wrote this lyrics?
Whatever. Money's money. Bob's still got to pay.
Appeal to the new generation.
Yeah, I want to get there, and they jump to that weird little salvage junkyard that they're all kind of living at and just working at, and the alien tech is still taking care of them. Matt Damon, I'll say this, he plays Cal, the main character. Is it Cal or Cal?
God, now that you've said it 3 times, I'm not too sure anymore.
Cal. I want to say it's Cal.
I want to say we'll go with Cal because Kale. I guess it is. I think it actually is Kale, but they both work.
Kale with the C. Maybe it's Kale. Maybe it is Kale with a C. Yeah, well, the thing about him is he is totally... This one reason why this shows this movie took a while to get made, because he feels like a total holdover of the 90s. Whatever, man, I don't care, but I still gotta make my hair look nice so I can be on the next WB show, because CW wasn't out at this time. It was the WB.
Yeah, he's definitely got that kind of look. He almost looks like... A lot of the other ones kind of have that, there's the guy in Anastasia that kind of looks like him, and even in Ferngully, the main guy who pretty much meets the fairies and everything like that. That guy almost looks kind of similar to him too. It's just like that 90s kind of buff, got a blue collar job, got my nice hair, so for when I go out on the weekends. I
mean, I get it. I'm not gonna bring the movie down for it, but it's just like, dude, for how rough your job is and for how much you're doing out there, you look too pretty for that. You gotta be, I know it's still, maybe it's one of those things, well, in 5 years, he'd be way more rugged. He'd probably be on some kind of form of space speed to, to take the edge off or whatever.
Maybe, well, he's got the back of his head kind of shaved a bit, so it's like he's got a little bit of edge.
No, just a little.
Just a little. He's wearing a spacesuit, I guess. Maybe you can have better hair. You think you just come out all sweaty.
The place they're in, I mean, there's no woman on that thing. There's a bunch of aliens just fucking hate humans.
Yeah, exactly.
Somebody's tried to... I doubt that's the first time someone tried to beat the fuck out of him after, he's been talking shit to him, hey, man, let me cut in line. I'm a human. I'm the last of my race. I'll be dead soon. Just let me... You know me. I'm not going to wait with those other old humans over there.
Yeah. So I'm like a kid with a disease. You got to put me in the front of the amusement park rides. Come on.
Yeah. Exactly. And then when they're over there, I noticed it's one of those things, this is, like I said earlier, I think I lost my train of thought at some point, but any chance they can, they're throwing a song on there to help sell the soundtrack. So instead of them stopping and breaking out in song, they have a song where you're clearly meant to hear the lyrics as it plays out through the scene. Because they do this whole scene when they're introducing him, years later after the planet's destroyed. They're doing they're playing the song Cosmic Castaway, which it very much spells out what just happened. And at the same time, they're doing that early. I heard people complaining about this, but at the same time, I get it. They're experimenting and stuff in the late '90s, early 2000s with that cell shaded fusion, and so the suits look a little rough, and then you got kind of this very well 2D animated head inside this really clunky 3D spacesuit.
Well, the thing is that in 2000, that would have looked fucking awesome. You would never even have noticed that was you know what I mean? It's only kind of I'll still say this, the CG still holds up pretty well. I mean, you could tell it's CG, but it still looks pretty good. All in all, for that time period of CG, that doesn't really bother me. And I know what they were going for. It was just this movie's very almost experimental, but also really kind of the forefront of kind of this animation, because there's a lot of moving and flowing shots that you just normally don't see in animation and so on. And also, if you think about it, almost the way this movie's designed is no different than the way that most movies are shot nowadays. I mean, you just take the 2D characters and you make those live action characters, but then everything else around them's kind of CG. That's how practically every movie is nowadays.
Yeah, pretty much. It's just there's something there are moments where it really does just kind of blend in. There are other moments where it really stands out, but it doesn't bother me that it stands out because I know the time it got made. And I hear some people just kind of like rolling their eyes because I listened to a couple of just retrospects because there's this everything we said on the movie. It's hard to find shit on this movie. They're almost trying to keep shit about it a secret, and how many people though are just like, oh my god, the CG of the time. It's like, oh, you dumb little fuck. That was the best they had at the time. So
and it's still pretty good. It's not bad. Like I don't know. Those are the kind of people that like they look at like a PlayStation 1 game and go, oh my gosh, people must have been fucking retarded in the 90s. And it's like, I like the fucking look of that. Fuck you.
Pretty much, yeah.
You know what I mean? It's like, I think that's just what it is. There's some people, like, they just get so uppity and, like... And it's always funny when people talk about bad CG. They always pull certain movies out, and I'm like, really? If you consider it that bad CG? You must have not seen a whole lot of movies then.
It's kind of more one of those things. I'm a little bit more forgiving if it's like an older movie like this. It's when when it should be better CG and it's right now, and sometimes that shows. But even, I don't know, we're at the point now, even if it's really great CG, I can always still tell it's CG, so that never really takes me out of the movie too much. Mm-hmm. But this right here, I'm getting stuck on that part. Well, shortly after he has a tussle with some aliens he was like starting some shit with out there, and he's still being taken care of by Tech, this big blue walrus bird alien thing. The character Crusoe, played by Bill Pullman, which makes sense.
Isn't Tech played by Tone Loc?
Tone Loc?
Yeah,
who's
the
that
rapper
again?
guy. He's on the Encino Man soundtrack. That's where I know him from.
That might be him. I don't see his name on here. I got most of the major characters off here because Tech's kind of in and out of there. I like to think Tech survived. You know, you don't want to be there the whole time just waiting for... You don't want to be there waiting the whole time just like, God, just somebody take this fucking kid off my hands. And years later, finally, he took him. He's fucking dead.
Yeah, exactly. One of those ones.
I hope he got out of there okay. I hope he went and lived a nice retirement. Yeah, Tone Loc. Tone Loc is Tech.
That's what I thought, yeah. Oh, I saw that in the credits. I was like, that's kind of cool.
Yeah, so then Bill Pullman comes in. It makes sense because, you know, they just got done doing Independence Day. So they're like, we got our golden boy from Independence Day.
President Bill Pullman, everyone! Just like he's always just referred to as President Bill Pullman.
Yeah, well, I think that... I didn't see the new Independence Day, but I imagine they just made him, like, Emperor of America after... Because how many presidents get into a spaceship and fight aliens?
Exactly.
So, like, no, he like, well, there's a big economic crisis. Did you stop the fucking aliens? Well, no, exactly what I fucking thought. Shut the fuck up and deal with it. Emperor Bill Pullman.
Exactly. Just like Emperor of Earth, Bill Pullman. I'm going with my original name, too. I'm not this president name anymore. Bill Pullman it is.
So, Bill Pullman comes in, and the thing is, Crusoe was this... He was there for a split second. He was driving the van, or the hover van or whatever, to drop off Kale's dad to the Titan, which is the spaceship that's going to like, okay, this thing that's going to take us and be kind of an arc to save us and get us to another planet. And that's the last we see of it, or we think we see of him. And then he comes back years later. It's like, oh, hey, kid, I knew your dad. I worked with him on this. I actually dropped you off of that spaceship. I know you don't remember me. Here's his ring. It has a map on it. Let's get you out of here. And that's when the Dredge roll in. And we didn't really speak on the Dredge so much, but I'll say this. It's going to sound like I'm being a dick at first, but it's going to come around. The Dredge are fucking stupid. They're a really stupid fucking enemy. And I don't like them, but I think that's the point. I think the thing about the Dredge is they are stupid, but they are very ruthless, and they have an endless supply of drones because... They're just energy. They just spawn more. They can just spit more of them out, so they don't need to be smart. They just need to just keep on attacking because they have an endless supply.
Mm-hmm. It's kind of weird because you know what, the Dredge sort of like past Titan A.E. once you kind of go in, I kind of wonder if like Mass Effect is sort of like it's got to be inspired by Titan A.E. somehow, some way, because a lot of this stuff feels very similar to like the way that Mass Effect's storyline goes, and even like the Geth in Mass Effect seem like they're almost like a more like well-developed version of kind of the Dredge.
I mean, the Dredge, they look cool, but the thing is, they just, all they have is this evil queen who just speaks in subtitles. It's just like, destroy the humans, find the humans. And I don't need any major character depth for a big blue CG effect. It's just one of those things, they are like a dumb villain, but I think it's every so often, you don't need a super complex villain. You just can almost have, like, this is just some force of nature that's really relentless, and it has all the... it has nothing to lose. So it can send as many people at you as it wants, because it's just going to spawn more, and there's really nothing you can do about that.
Yeah, because I always feel like I kind of like that kind of enemy once in a while, because it reminds me, like, that to me always feels like the scariest thing you can imagine. It's like something that doesn't have any reason or emotion, like why it's doing it. It's just coming after you just to kill you,
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's kind of, I mean, if this movie was, because this movie almost feels like it should have been like a 2-hour-long movie, just to fill in maybe a little bit more kind of like gaps in storyline and so on. I know that there's some books and comic books that kind of, add a little bit more to it. So maybe if you read those, that might be kind of cool.
Yeah, I think that this movie would be better if it was a little longer, or if they just switched one little side plot out. I think that would flesh out certain things. I mean, I still really like this movie, and I have this movie on VHS. I don't have it on DVD, so I'd like to get it out again at some point, or on Blu-ray or something. But, so from there, the Dredge come in, they get out of there, and that's where we get introduced to Power Man 5000 song. It's like, it's all over, so let's do it again. It's like, okay, so the world's ended, so we gotta go. It's just one of those songs that spells out the story for you. They get in the spaceship, and they're trying to get out of there. And this is also, I have no idea this is bullshit, but I was always thinking, well, if I ever am in a situation in space, I know not to take a deep breath, but to exhale when you go out into space.
Well, you get like 15 seconds you can survive kind of if you go into space real quickly. That's what I remember Andy McElfresh said that.
Yeah, that part in Titan A.E, because then what happens is they're trying to escape the Dredge. They crash through this. Window, and the thing starts to the glass is cracking, and their ship is hovering over them. And then Crusoe's like, exhale. What? Exhale! And he uses a fire extinguisher to propel them towards the ship. They get in there at the 0 hour, and then he wakes up later on a medical table being examined by Akima, played by Drew Barrymore.
Mm-hmm. And, because this here almost even reminds me sort of like the Josh Whedon part, because it kind of reminds me like Firefly almost, with these, like, kind of space pirates in a sense that are kind of, at first you think of them as, like, they're almost like freedom fighters out there, like, hey, we're here to, like, fucking, find this Ark, find the Titan, and we're gonna save the human race. It's gonna be fucking awesome. Believe me, like, what, you think this Kangaroo Man thing here is gonna, like, be against me later on?
Well, that's like right there. It does have that thing where you just think they are like this ragtag group that's, they're all good. And that's something to give this movie credit for, because they're all so cartoonish. So there's this thing, just watching so many of these movies, even though they may seem like they're sketchy, you just kind of expect that in this type of movie. So it's like, all right, they're a little sketchy, but they're all probably good guys. And that's going to be foreshadowing for later, because from there they go on, they meet the character Kree, I think his name is. And he's voiced by, I'm trying to blank on the guy's name.
John Leguizamo one? No, wait.
No, Nathan Lane. He's the guy he voiced
Timon.
Timon from Timon and Pumbaa in Lion King. Preed is his name, Preed.
Yeah.
And the thing about him is he looks like this weird kind of like, at first I thought he was like a goat with or something, but apparently he's based off a fruit bat. And he just has this really weird, kind of creepy, kind of super, like flowy, animated posture-ish kind of vibe to him.
Mm-hmm. No, yeah, because he's kind of like the guy with he's like the talker. He'll like talk his way out of anything like that. He's kind of cunning and so on like that, and slick-witted and so on.
It was just a weird. Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
And it's almost that, but then he's almost kind of wrapped up and like looks like somebody's uncle, like in space, kind of at the same time.
Well, he's just this weird fusion. He's probably one of them, even though we're probably not meant to like him. He's probably one of my favorite characters in the movie, just because he's just such a weird fusion. Because he has this very like, he tries to come off as very suave and very like, oh hello my dear lady, like all this kind of, but at the same time, and he's the way, but then at the same time he has like this very grungy kind of fucking look. Like if things go bad, he will very quickly just snap your neck or just like pistol whip you, like he's prepared for it,
Yeah, exactly. You almost not too sure of this guy. He can be your best of friends, and he can also be your like worst of enemies.
But it's just how he has, like, you could definitely see that he's this very grungy guy trying to present himself as a very suave guy. And I think that's just kind of an interesting, like, among all these pirates and all these, you know, criminals, he's the one guy who's trying to present himself as something he's clearly not.
Yeah, and he's almost like just the guy who's well-read. He's, you know, he researches anything before he kind of goes into it, so he can almost, like, fake his way really well. And
you kind of get a little bit of that he's not as smart. He is smart in some ways, but he's also, like, not as sophisticated as he wants people to perceive him as, because when you see he's alone, he's just he has this big-ass turret, and he's just trying to shoot at a fucking grasshopper when he's supposed to be doing his job, and the second when someone else is there, he's like, oh, hello, I'm back to being this guy.
Yeah, he is just kind of that guy who's just a big faker almost at the same time, too, and really not the best buddy kind of to have on your team, but he probably talks his way into it, so you think he is. It's almost like kind of having like one of those like people that's going to work with you, and you're like, oh, this person sounds great. You know what I mean? They're totally into the project and everything like that, and then next thing you know, like 2 weeks later, they're not showing up or something like that.
It's kind of like, you know what? It's almost like, don't get me wrong, I like Nintendo more, but it's kind of like how Nintendo was talking to Sony, like, oh yes, we'd love to make your little PlayStation with you, and then like just 2 days later, oh hey, Panasonic, what's up?
Yeah, exactly. Oh, you're gonna offer a better deal than Sony? Well, fuck Sony. They just make TVs and Walkmans. What?
This isn't gonna bite us in the ass in any way whatsoever.
I know, that's always like, well, you know that, like, no matter what, that's always got to be, like, the burden of, like, Nintendo, like, is the fact, like, we created this. We created what is greater than us.
It's almost kind of like, you know, Tony Stark creating Ultron.
It really is. And then Ultron going on to be, like, the main Avenger.
Yeah.
Tony's like, oh, well, we'll call you, you know, if we need maybe a 7th guy on the team, we'll give you a call, Tony. But you know how screen time goes.
Well, I've always been more of a Nintendo guy than a Sony guy, but still, it's one of those things like, you made this problem yourself. This is your fault.
Yeah, exactly.
But going back to this dude, though, then we go back to the rest of the group, and you got Stith, played by Janine Garofalo. And the thing with her is she's just like the angry tomboy, weird kangaroo-looking thing who's their weapons expert. And she gets across that she is overqualified for this, but she just has nowhere else to go, more or less, and she hates her fucking job. She's always short-tempered. Apparently there is a book that explains that she and Akima are best friends.
Huh, yeah, I think I saw that too. It's like in one of the prequel ones. And whenever I think of that actress too, I always think of her because she plays the bowler in Mystery Men.
Oh, this is definitely around Mystery Men around that time.
Oh, yeah, it's right past that, you know. And Mystery Men's an interesting movie to do a retrospect on. I actually watched it like a couple months ago, and I hadn't seen it in a long time. But it's one of those movies where it's like, it does. I don't really think it holds up super well. I think it's one of those few movies where it's like I remember it being kind of cool as a kid, and then watch it now. It's just kind of dumb, but still kind of cool at the same time. If that makes sense.
As far as I remember of it, you know what? It's probably one of those things. If you did I know we don't always like this word, but if you did a reboot of it now, because it was at a time when superhero movies, there were still good superhero movies, but it wasn't at this point where you were expecting every superhero movie to be good and be well received. So. It was this thing poking fun at a thing that still wasn't really as well formed as it could have been at that time. And now it's also like I think now you can almost do a reboot of it. I don't really know if the comic is still going on. I imagine I don't know for a fact. I imagine it's probably some very dark, gritty, R-rated comic they really PG'd up. I might be wrong on that, but I could seriously see that, like The Mask.
Yeah, like probably something like that, because it's a cool concept. And really what it is, it's like the proto Kick-Ass. You know, at the end of the day, it's like Kick-Ass way before Kick-Ass even came around. So I think that is one of the few ones it's like, no, that could use a reboot, just a brand new movie. And because it's just got a great concept, but it just kind of is, it's got the 90s just like slapsticky kind of dumb humor in it. And that's not saying there's not cool stuff in it. And I think the characters are good and everything like that, but it's just got almost like a little too goofy.
The one thing that stands out to me was I forget the name of the actor. Was it Sam Rockwell as the there was like a superhero that was like super famous. He was kind of a douchebag, and they made a small little joke like, I'm pretty sure that that's that famous billionaire. That's that superhero. Can't be. He wears glasses. How would he see? You know, just like there's like a small joke like that. That were being pretty good, and then the whole aspect of, like, he walks in wearing, like, a Pepsi logo. Like, he has all these sponsorships all over his superhero
like a stock car. That's what I mean. Like, overall, it's like the concept's fucking great. You know, and the characters are good and everything like that. And even the actors are good in it. It's just, yeah, it's just got a little bit kind of like, I don't know, it's one of those, and there's some people out there that's probably, this movie's like just fucking like, oh my god, this is like my fucking childhood's like, you know, big movie. How dare you talk down on the Mystery Man? I'm just like, I'm not really talking down. I'm just saying it's one of the movies where it's good, but it's just not like, it could be really amazing. It's just all I'm saying.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I need to see that movie again, but there's certain things about it that I'm just kind of like, but there's certain things about it like, oh, that really stand out. I remember liking that aspect about it.
Yeah.
But I remember here's another thing that really says the time it came out. The theme song they would use frequently to sell the movie, and the song the movie ends on, is All Star by Smash Mouth.
Oh, yeah, that's
so
right.
That gives you the time, that gives you the frame of time when this thing came out. Now, when we go down to the rest of the crew, not that many more. I mean, you got the John Leguizamo character. What was his name? He was like Goon. It was like Goon, but it was spelt weird. It was like spelt Gune or something like that.
Yeah.
And the thing about that character is I love John Leguizamo. He's one of my favorite character actors. But this is an example of one of those characters where just like, oh, that part, oh, he's dead? Oh, good. Oh, fuck. All right. Okay.
He's back. He's just taking a nap.
Yeah. So that was one of those things where, and like, that's also one of those things like, okay, I feel like animators, they want to have an opportunity to have this character, like I could see, I'm just guessing here, but a character like Preed, like they like probably making a guy like that because he's so bendy and curvy and gives him a chance to play with facial expressions and hand motions. Someone like Goon, that probably gives him an opportunity to animate things like, oh, he's doing weird, funny things. He's like tumbling over. He has those big glasses, so makes funny expressions. That's fun to animate. Mm-hmm. And I think that's all that character really is. He was just like, oh, he's fun to animate. Let's make him do this. Let's make him do that.
Yeah, and I think it is because once again, it comes back down to like it's the mixed match between being kind of like cartoony and also being kind of like realistic animation. And I think that's kind of how this movie kind of does. It kind of walks in about the dead center of it, you know what I mean? And I almost feel like, I mean, once again, this movie was, no matter what, by as much money as they spent on it, it will no matter what they did, I don't think there's any way the movie could have, like, made it, you know, a huge, like, comeback. Even if it was, like, 2 hours longer, and even if it was, like, they made it a little bit more realistic and so on. Yeah, it's just so deep in the hole. But I do think, almost if you would have walked a little bit more realistic, I think that would have been kind of the way to go. I mean, keep the same tone and vibe, but just take the cartoony characters and make them in the same level as the human characters.
Mm-hmm. Well, it's not even so much of just his look that bothers me. It's just more, he's really out of place. He feels like he was dropped right out of a Saturday morning cartoon. This is part like, let me see your hand. He's like examining the hand because he's like the math master basically and the scientist. And he's examining his hand, and he's looking at it like, oh, that's Nebula 13, that's Gorgon, or whatever the fuck. He's just like, what's that? Like, oh, that's spaghetti sauce from dinner last night. Like, oh, and he starts molesting his hand with his fucking mouth and won't let go. Just like, oh, okay, all right.
So you know that Kale, like, when he's sleeping in there, he fucking has one eye open, just, like, looking for that little bastard who's going to try to jump him in the middle of the night.
You just hear he's like, I got two cocks. He's like jerking them off at the same time.
You know, it's just like, I like the little blonde 90s boy look.
Like, why we make this such a cartoony character so fucking rapey? Like he has like a stuffed animal quality to him, but he's very rapey. It's a weird combination.
And he goes after little blonde boys. That's his thing.
So then once they all kind of get together, then there's Akima, which is the love interest / pilot, and she's also, she's voiced by Drew Barrymore, and they get across, like, oh, she lived on a slaver ship. She lived on a refugee ship, and her whole thing is, I want to save the human race, and Cal's just like, fuck it, why do I care? And apparently, it's some
I work a blue-collar job, you know what I mean? I got shit benefits.
Oh, yeah, exactly. He's just like, he just has this whole like fuck him attitude about it. And at some point, I guess there was a prequel book about why he hated like a lot of the refugee camps or whatever. So maybe it's there he even had less shitty benefits or more shitty benefits.
I bet you anything he's got like those conservative values. Be like, these fucking refugee camps just take fucking our tax dollars that we're working hard to get and fucking living there. Look at that fucking kid playing soccer down there. He should have a fucking job. I had a job at his age. What's his fucking problem?
I'm telling you, we gotta put in more of these fucking, all these people evading taxes, and be like, oh, okay, like, well, he's a white, blonde-haired guy in space, so we should have seen this coming.
You know what I mean? And I bet you that's sort of like, I mean, we're kind of joking at, but I feel like that's probably realistically what it is. If he's working a job like that, you know for a fact he probably has that kind of mindset. That he's looking at other people being like, why the fuck aren't they working? You know, because that's always mostly how the blue-collar guy sort of sees it. Where the Drew Barrymore one, she's more like, no, but I've been on the ground level. I've seen these guys and so on like that. You know what I mean? They tried to get a job, but they just keep getting refused. And so it's like, fuck, start their own business then. Like, not my fucking problem.
Well, he's very much, there is one of those things like Kale is very much a douchebag, but he's not like the most hateable character. He's not really even hateable or unlikable.
He's like a lovable douchebag.
Well, he's like written kind of clever enough, because some of the writing in this, for being a kid's, I think a lot of like kids movies would be a lot more straightforward with it, but it doesn't write it like that. There is a little bit more, I think some of the characters are a little more clever the way they're written. Like some of the dialogue between him and whatchamacallem and Crusoe when they first meet. Like, hey, some of us humans got to stick together. He's just like, yeah, sure, whatever. And he's like, oh, what? You don't believe me? You don't think you're I'm looking out for you? He's like, oh, you probably want something. Well, I do want to talk to you about something. Oh, what a shock.
Yeah, exactly. Like, it's got good writing and so on like that too. And even like I feel like.
Oh, go ahead, sorry.
I was just gonna say, even just like, you know, the back and forth between him and Drew Barrymore's character and so on, like it is written really well, and it's got good like movement and animation of almost like all the characters kind of getting their emotions across and so on like that, but still
good
feeling
facial expressions.
Yeah, and it's still feeling kind of like it's not, you know, even though it's a kids movie, lots of times a lot of the stuff like it's got this weird thing where like a lot of the stuff doesn't even feel like you're watching a kids movie. Like you could totally see this being just like a PG-13 action movie. It's just more like it's just the cartooniness is what kind of brings you back down. You're like, oh yeah, I am watching a kids movie.
It's when you see, like, something... Well, some of the aliens, yeah, but, like, I got a feeling there's the part where there's the chef. There's that cockroach, like, chef who's like, we don't serve ketchup here! And when he explodes, it wouldn't surprise me the least bit, because when they shoot him, he turns into a puddle of goop, and his teeth drop. When they shoot him, he says, bullseye! Ugh! Like, he's still alive, even though he's a puddle of goop. It wouldn't surprise me the least bit, like, alright, I know we just made him blow up, but we gotta... It's a kid's movie. We can't really show this guy getting killed here. He's just a fucking puddle of goop. Well, he's an alien. We can make up some shit that he's a puddle of goop and still alive. So just make him voice and still talk even after he's a fucking smear on the wall.
I know that part's pretty kind of ballsy though. Anyway, so it's like, oh shit, they just vaporized that guy and just blood and guts just went everywhere. And it's just kind of that thing where it's like, I know like it's got that. There's always that weird thing where it's like, well, it's not a human, so it's okay. You know, robots, aliens. Well, it's not a human, so it doesn't really matter. It's not like they're not real people, you know.
Mm-hmm. But there's also things when humans actually get shot. There's blood. Like Akima gets shot right to the shoulder. You see a spray of blood. There's a part when Kale has his nightmare about getting shot by a dredge. He gets like blood all over his chest.
He has this nightmare about what's his name?
Goon, just
Goon.
like hiding under the bed, just like
well,
jerk me off with your map hand.
He's just crazy. That's his goal. It's like it glows. It's so warm.
Well, not the jerking off thing, but the visual of the map on the hand is cool looking. The weird kind of orange compass kind of thing layout, that actually is cool looking.
Mm-hmm.
But
well, there is some pretty violent parts in this movie that is kind of like it does make it like a very borderline PG-13, I would say.
I heard I had trouble getting a PG, but I can definitely see that.
I mean, there's even a part too where like a guy gets his neck snapped.
Yeah, when we get to that part. But there's so eventually the first takes them to this one planet, which all these like bulbous like trees, they're called hydrogen trees. Like there's an ancient society here that your father was like knew through his research and all that. So we're gonna go to them first. So they go there, and they kind of split up. Preed, which is the smarmy fruit bat-like character and Goon are all waiting back at the ship. Everyone else goes to this ancient culture. And the ancient culture are all these bird people. And they can't speak English or anything, but they kind of symbolize, put your hand up at the sky. He looks at his hand in the sky, and from there you see, like, oh, now the map shows me a better example of where we got to go from here, and that's when the dredge attack. And here's a part of the movie, like, I like all this scene, all this stuff. They're trying to get away, the birds are picking them up, they're flying away, they're getting shot down by the dredge, they're getting clipped by the hydrogen trees and exploding, and it leads to a cool action scene. But here's the one scene of the movie. This leads to a part of the movie that I think could have been replaced by something else, because everything kind of just suddenly moves really fast at this point, and I think you could have just had another location other than this one. Mm-hmm. Or at least made the movie longer if you're going to do this. They, both Akima and Kale get captured by the dredge, and the dredge are all like, well, we got the boy, we got the girl, send the girl into space, we don't care. So they basically just lock her in the space coffin, shoot her into space like she's Spock. And before that happens, they have this emotional moment. Like, I'm doing this because I saw people die where I was at. We ran out of food and resources, and I want to make a difference. And then Kale, he's like, we're gonna imprison the boy. And this is one of those things where it's just like, for being a super incredibly superior race or whatever, you motherfuckers have no concept of design. It's just like, oh, well, it works on us, but we didn't take into account that, oh yeah, we're all energy. All he has to do is put his fingers together, stretch out this like electric wall, and he just walks right through it. And then he gets the fuck out of there, no problem. Like, oh shit, we didn't take that into account.
What if it's more like, it's like, he's like, oh, I need a third contact point to make this all work, like a Triforce. Be like, oh, well, shit, us Dredge don't really have that kind of, issue going on, or not the Dredge, but the, whatever those, well, yeah, that. But yeah, I think that part's kind of a little bit weird how it's like, it would almost be better if it's almost like, maybe like when he put the ring through, it kind of like made it so it like, I don't know, sort of disconnected it a little bit more. Like, it almost had, like, it grounded it out or something a little bit pseudoscience like that. Something
like the ring was almost designed like, well, I know that they'll be coming for him, so let me make some kind of anti-dredge, like, element to this thing. So if they come across him, he has a way to fight him back.
Yeah, I just feel like there could have been a little bit more. Like, that is kind of like a goofy, like...
That's all it took. I just had to put my fingers here and stretch out. Like, oh shit, I just gotta walk right through this wall of this. Okay, whatever. And then they very easily go over to. They're trying to track Akima. I think she has some kind of tracker on her, and that leads her to some kind of like slaver camp where she's captured. And we don't see what happens. We just see a bunch of like really rapey aliens. Like, oh, she's pretty, and like that's another very heavy metal thing right there.
Yeah.
And then they go in there, and this part's actually, I think this is a good scene between the characters, but it's still, I think that you could have got this another way, just because this seems kind of like a small little speed bump in the movie that didn't need to happen. You could have gone and done something else, but I like this part right here. He says like, oh look, it's a big dumb guard. This will be easy. And that's where Preed comes in. He's just like, I am a slave. I'm a slave trader coming to give you my goods. Like, stop fidgeting, worm. He kicks, like, Curso. He says, like, now, if I may see your goods. And that's where the guard, who clearly has, like, decades of experience. This is like, first off, these kind of slavers never greet. They come in, they demand. You're not doing that. Also, those rags, those aren't real rags. Those are bed sheets. This guy's posture says he's ex-military, not a slave. Slaves always keep their heads down, and that's when Stith comes in, like, beats the fuck out of the guy. They just walk through there. I'm like, okay, that was kind of clever, but, I mean, I think you could have got that scene in there better than kind of going all the way around and shoot her into space just to get her back that easily,
Oh, yeah, I see what you mean. It's like there's good stuff in those scenes, but it's almost that weird, like, get captured, gotta get back. I don't know, it's a weird one. I mean, other than, like, putting the fingers into, like, the electric wall, like, I think for the most part it's not too bad. It's not like if that scene would have dragged on, maybe I could see where that could be kind of a little bit of a problem, but
I guess because as soon as they get back, Kale and Akima have this connection, like, oh, how are you? So good to see you. Just like that quickly, and I think
we just survived prison rape together.
Very briefly, they had a conversation, and then she survived prison rape. He just got put into a blue box. And,
well, no, maybe there was this dredge scene that came in. It's like, always wanted to fuck a human before.
It's in subtitles like blah, 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 blah. Getting shocked by an electrified dildo does something to a man. No, but the thing about that is, I think that scene, this is my only real complaint about the movie, them getting captured and then getting split up and they come back together so easily. I think that's a scene where they could have just got like, okay, the dredge attack us, we get away, on to our next clue, and that's where we get to see some other alien world, and we get a little bit more, that's where they get a chance to bond. And I don't mean to go and rewrite a movie that's almost like 20 years old by this point, but I just think that right there is just kind of a better way to do it, because they both get away very easily, and it's kind of like no big deal when they get back together, you know?
And I think that's almost when it comes back to like a kids movie, like that's almost like the difference there is like between it's like in a kids movie that would already be frightening enough. I feel it's like for the adult watcher, it's kind of like it could be a little bit more struggle there. Just saying, you know.
Yeah. I mean, it didn't bother me when I saw it, but now when I was a kid, but thinking back on it, I'm like, that was pretty easy, and they just kind of click back together. They're almost on the verge of fucking as soon as they make eye contact again. Yeah,
I know. It's like very close. It's like, oh wow, you know. You're like in prison for 6 hours.
That's where I realized life is short. You can get fucked by a blue energy alien any moment in life. You gotta make this moment last.
Good thing when he came at me, I just put my fingers between him and spread him apart.
Yeah, just walked right through them. Their only weakness.
Literally, you could finger these guys and it's okay.
That's actually their weak spot. They just kind of just spastically just start jittering and start coming. Just lay down, just shooting that blue space goo.
Just all over themselves, too. And then they roll around in it for hours on end for some reason.
It's a dredge thing. I don't know what it is either.
You know what I mean? Like, I've seen a lot of alien stuff before, but, you know.
You see, you see when a dog, rolls around, in a dead deer carcass? Kind of the same thing.
That's what a dredge does. Just, energy everywhere. And they just, bask in it for hours on end.
Just to see what happens, I pulled out my phone. It was a little low on energy. I just tossed in that shit, charged it right back up. So, I mean...
I guess they got a purpose, you know. I mean, when we were on, our blue-collar jobs, fucking cleaning spaceships and stuff, we just talked about how it'd be good just, to get a group together and eliminate these dredge, thinking that they're worthless, people. But, now, I don't know. Maybe they could just charge phones for us on our new planet Earth.
Yeah. Just let it jerk off on the fucking ground. We just toss our phones in the fucking puddle.
Oh, and then from this point on,
that doesn't happen.
Is this the part now where they finally start to get to the point where they're when they realize that the crew is sort of turned on them?
This is kinda. They have two little emotional scenes. Okay, so here's a scene where we got, I don't remember which comes first, but Akima and I want to say actually what happens is Akima and Kale have a nice little one-on-one conversation. They bond, they have a talk, and he almost walks in on her just getting out of the shower, and it's PG. So if this was heavy metal,
that is literally the scene though that's totally made for the 10-year-old in 2000. It was
I remember I watched this with my friends. Dude, pause it right there, dude, as if you're gonna see that shit. As if you see part of her back.
It'd be weird too if you just 10-year-olds and you had the other friends dude, pause it when Kale's thrown up in the air and you can see his butt cheeks.
Yeah, because they have a little medical table and they're just not a big deal. He's walking around, he's hanging out naked around this alien and this girl, just let me just do just jam. They even made a small joke hand me the probe. Where does the probe go?
They have a couple jokes there too, and they even have a thing I need to measure this or something like that.
It's a cut or whatever, but it's right by, yeah. And, no, actually, you know what? I think what happens is they get away. That's when he comes out and they're driving through a nebula and they start seeing these, space stingray things. And Crusoe's hey, you want to fly the ship? Your dad was a good guy. And they just kind of bond right there and they're flying through. And that's when they get another semi-musical scene. They're playing that song, It's My Turn to Fly by The Urge. Mm-hmm. And then he says, your dad was a good guy or whatever. You're a lot like him. Oh, thanks, man. They walks the other way. That's when he has a moment with Akima. And then they're we're going to be stopping at this one port, this one refugee camp, and we're going to trade with them.
Refugees? This is where my tax dollars go to. Go see how it's spit. Hey, kid, give me that soccer ball. I technically paid for it.
Why don't you work for this fucking ball?
Yeah, or your dad played soccer like he had a real job.
No, real job is digging a ditch like a man.
Yeah, here.
Oh, no, wait, you know what? Ain't got no ditches no more to dig, because we're in fucking space. So you best get to work making a new fucking planet so we can dig ditches.
Believe me, when I set up Planet Bob, I'm gonna get you a shovel and you're gonna dig ditches till the day you die.
If not, you're gonna be the
right there like, oh. Be like, no, you should be goddamn grateful I'm giving him a paid job. He'll have benefits and everything.
I will be Emperor of Bob.
He'll learn how to have a respectful way of life. None of this soccer bullshit, kicking a ball around on a yard here thing. No more of these dreams of playing in the grass. No, you'll be working in that field, damn it.
Playing soccer? We're making Planet America. Ain't no soccer there.
Soccer? You'd be playing football like a real man. Maybe you can play hockey if you can handle the ice.
Yeah. But I tell you what, if you're gonna play in a green field, guess who's playing in all that fucking grass?
Yeah, you ain't gonna be no grass fairies on my planet. just
10
like,
minutes of him just belittling this kid.
Akiva's like, oh god, maybe this was a terrible idea to bring him here. He's just been yelling at this one kid the whole time. He hasn't even noticed anybody else. Tell him about how he's supposed to have a job. And
the lady in the rice hat keeps on walking up trying to say something, but he keeps on cutting her off to yell at the kid.
See, he looks at the lady in the rice hat. See, she understands what a hard day's labor is. Look at that back there. That's a back of work right there. She's been picking rice fields for years. The rice hat gives it away, too. Believe me, it's one of those ones, like, I used to always think it was kind of goofy. We'd be in sci-fi space, and they're still wearing rice hats, though there's no sun and no rice. But apparently that's just what it is, you know what I mean?
It's a cultural thing. It's
what Decker taught us. Come on.
It's an indicator for white guys. Like, oh, it's an Asian thing.
Yeah, exactly. Maybe she might take that off and throw it, and there's a blade in between it. You never know.
You play Mortal Kombat, right? No, of course you haven't.
Of course you haven't. You haven't had a job. You can't even buy your own video games. Shit, you
probably
want me to
play
buy you
FIFA,
one, right? That's what I'm doing here. Next time I go down the store and I run my card and it's like, hey, you want to make a donation to Billy? I'll be like, fuck Billy. Fuck him and his stupid cancer. I ain't paying for it. He'll get a real job and then he can buy whatever the hell he wants. But till then, Billy ain't getting my fucking 25 cents.
He ain't playing my Mortal Kombat, and I sure shit ain't buying him FIFA.
Yeah, fuck that. If anything, I'm gonna go down the store and get him a 3-year-old copy of fucking Madden.
I'm no real sport. Oh shit, Akima's dying.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
He's got distracted.
He just keeps going on about the job. You know what? If any of these fucking alien punks come here and try to take away our good, human jobs.
Don't worry, we got space chainsaws that shoot lasers. We're prepared for this shit.
Exactly.
I brought mine with me. I thought I was gonna leave that for those green, dirty... Whoa, dude. What? The fucking space monkeys? Oh, dude, you don't say shut the fuck up. Don't say that shit.
What? The fucking cockroaches are the ones that cook all our meals.
Whoa, dude. You don't... Like, he starts, saying, alien slurs. Like, what? The flabberbappers? Oh, dude, that's, the N-word for,
for the flip-flops.
Get off my lawn, you dirty flapper blappers.
Back where I came from, they used to call me the poster boy child for what it was like to be an American.
So what happens here, not that exactly, but what happens here is that's when they walk in on Crusoe talking to Dredge, and he's all saying, how dare you send your goons after me? We had a deal. So at some point between here and there, they made a deal all right, I got the kid, maybe I will bring the kid to you at some point, and they just backstab. So guess what? I got the kid, and if you so much as try and come back at us, I'll kill him myself. And that's when Preed walks up behind him with a gun to their back. And I'll be honest, even though I kind of get what they wanted to do, it's one of those things where I feel like, how do I put this? I feel like it would have been really, really interesting if the rest of the crew, not just those two, but the rest of the crew were in on it too.
Yeah, I think so too. I think it should have just been maybe Akiva is the only one out of the picture on this, but everybody else was totally like in on it, like, but maybe, you know what I mean, like you can maybe make it like maybe a little bit more like, oh, okay, well, we didn't realize how much fucking Bill Pullman was like getting paid here or something like that. But and I also think that turns almost, I mean, I get it, like he's supposed to be like the real nice guy and everything like that, and then he like turns in and be like, no, fuck this. Like, I feel like what they almost need for Bill Pullman's character too is I think they also need another little backstory of like, and maybe that's in one of the books or something like that, because it'd be interesting to see. I mean, like, I can kind of make up my mind. It's like, obviously he was screwed over many a times in life, and so he just doesn't have a care for like other people in a sense like that. He probably has that same thing. He's like, fuck those people in their refugee camps too.
He's in the same thought process, like make space great again or whatever. Has like a red hat.
Yeah, I feel like he's in that same ballpark too.
Make Bob great again. Make Bob great again.
That's what Bob's all about.
Second chance for Space America.
Exactly, was for these dirty dredges showing up, trying to take our jobs. All we want to do is build a space literally. Wall. Yeah.
So, whole thing with that though is, I think the thing is they get across that he's a guy who's been screwed over a lot, and I feel like he's just this guy who. He does go a little hard, but at the same time, I think he's so used to being screwed over that he doesn't begrudge anybody for doing it. Because even in the part when they fight at the end, he says, "You can let go, kid. I wouldn't blame you if you did." And when he doesn't, that's the point where he's like, "Well, he had every chance to kill me, but he didn't. And I kind of got to do the right thing here."
Yeah. And I think it's just one of those ones. It's just like he's like, "I'm gonna die anyways. Fuck it." You know what I mean? Like, and it's almost that kind of thing where. It doesn't feel like that's out of place either. I just feel like almost like he kind of learns in this process. It goes by quick, but he sort of learns that like maybe not everybody's going to try to screw you over at every like corner and so on.
Well, he gets across that like, look, we're extinct. We're going to be gone soon. This whole thing is useless. Your dad was a fool in the first place. Well, all we got to do is just kind of look out not for ourselves, but not for our own, but for ourselves.
Look out for number one. That's the only thing that matters.
Pretty much, yeah. And he says just grab whatever you can before you go, and don't rely on people too much because they will disappoint you. And that's kind of his whole view. And he's a very interesting... That right there, I mean, he does go a little too hard in one direction on that, but he does get his point across. Just they make him like almost like he enjoys it a little too much, and then he goes back to being a good guy. Not long after that.
Yeah.
And,
which I feel like they almost should have, instead of making him seem kind of like a bad guy, I think it would have been better to just get like maybe just a little bit more that's like he just really just has like great non-trust in people, and it's just almost like, you guys, it's a fucking dog-eat-dog world, let me tell you about it.
Well, and it's also, you can just see that he's kind of at the end of his rope. And he's just, I think that's what's interesting with the character, is he's the rough-and-tumble Han Solo guy, but only he's like, oh, he is a bad guy. He's not actually, I mean, he comes back around, he's a good guy. But the idea, like, oh, the Han Solo character is the villain of the movie? Okay.
Yeah, it's an interesting way to kind of go about it. And it's almost like Han Solo and Chewie are the bad guys on this, like, you know, kind of flight, I guess you could say.
It is actually, do see a lot of parallels to like Treasure Planet right there. I mean, because the whole the whole John Silver part where he comes around and tries to, he's like looking out for the kid, he's being nice to him, and at some point he has like, shit, I have to kill the kid. Okay, fuck, I can't do it. And he comes in at the last minute and he's like friends the kid again at the end, does the right thing. It's kind of a very similar thing to this.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, has that kind of going on for it. Definitely, you can see that there too.
Not to give too much foreshadowing. I think Treasure Planet, maybe not right away, because this one's kind of similar to it. Maybe later down the line do that one, because that's a good movie.
I think that'd be cool, because I haven't watched that movie since it came out, and I know the story just because Treasure Island kind of story, but like that movie, it's like I just kind of barely remember it. It's been so long.
It has some of those really cartoony stuff we were talking about, but it's just really good character design, really interesting concept, and you know.
It's another one, just really quickly, that's in that same ballpark, is the the other one that came out right before Treasure Planet, the Atlantis one.
I like Atlantis.
That's a great movie.
That's a good one, yeah. Well, Disney was trying to do that thing, like, all right, well, we did a bunch of like fairy tale shit. Let's try and do some sci-fi steampunk shit for a little while. Let's try and mix it up a little bit.
Yeah, and I like that. Well, it was almost like the era where like they were making man movies. It's like a real manly town to be around. Was the early 2000s. I don't know what it was. It was almost like the 90s was kind of girly, but we're getting back to like Macho Man. It was like, you know, like the 80s all over again.
You know how we're being super manly? For the soundtrack for Treasure Planet, we got John Mansrick from the Goo Goo Dolls.
Exactly. We got Creed in the trailer.
Oh, this had Creed in the trailer.
No, well, never mind, that's what I was thinking. It was this movie. I had Creed.
This is just like because that they really advertised like, "Can you take me higher?" Before it was super obvious that Creed was a Christian band, so it's like, oh, he's singing about Jesus right now.
Oh, I thought he was singing about space.
Yeah, I mean, like, can you drive the spaceship higher? But no, just about driving, just rocking with Jesus, broing down with Jesus. What Creed is to me, So what ends up happening is they find out, they try to get out of there. They have a brief tussle with Preed and Crusoe, and Akima gets shot in the shoulder as they make their way to this deck, to the deck of this refugee camp. And that's when he bumps shoulders with the kid. He's like, "You don't deserve that fucking ball, but god damn it, we still need a planet, so I can punish you there."
Boy, where's your nearest spaceship?
And there's a guy there who's just looks very like. It's just such like a weird looking guy because he has like this very like flamboyant like long hair, like, "Oh, she's been a lovely house, but I don't know if she'll fly at all." And then they like, "Look, we know you don't got a lot, but we're taking this fucking shit.
And we're gonna give you all guys all jobs for the next 24 hours."
Yeah.
Montage.
They do just get there and just like, "Hey guys, you just got here who just demanded medical help. Now you want this house and you want all of us to get you there." Like, I guess it's one of those things they probably didn't left out the whole thing of them saying like,
"Oh yeah, by the way, we got a planet for y'all.
There's a planet in it for you, except for the soccer ball kid. You're all willing to put in." Yeah.
He's got too much freedom going around in there. He just doesn't know what it's like to how to work a 12-hour shift down at the mill.
Down at the space mill with a chainsaw laser gun.
This reminds me like one of those ones where just like Kale's just like, "Okay, you guys, we got 24 hours, you know what I mean? You're gonna work hard, no one's gonna get any sleep, we're just gonna do it. We're gonna work like a team. We'll work like old-fashioned America and put this spaceship back together. Oh, do we get paid? You earned your pay already. That's what you're living on right here. For once, you're gonna actually have to earn your way around this place. Help me clean my spaceship, and I want the outside clean too. Shit, I don't want to be driving around space and people looking at me like some kind of hobo."
I want to look at him and say like, "That's a man who clearly worked for his status."
Yeah, exactly. I want to be driving the Cadillac of spaceships now. You hear me? You hear me, little soccer boys?
He just keeps on like zeroing in like this. "You are really beating down on this 12-year-old kid. You don't even fucking know. There's a whole colony of people here."
Well, yeah, but look at that lady over there. Look at her back. Clearly, she's been working hard. I don't feel like I need to yell at her. Maybe she's actually almost even earned this. You know, I don't know. I'm not really whole about the retirement thing. I don't really trust it. I feel that makes a person weak. I think they should work to the day they die. But still,
because I'm going to say this: if one of y'all is a chiropractor, you should give her a discount.
Yeah, if anybody deserves a goddamn discount, it's that Asian lady over there. Let me tell you.
Anyway, we're in over our head. Make me my ship.
Lady, she raised her hand. "Does that mean I'm out of the 24-hour work?" "Fuck no, it doesn't. Get your ass over there." "Shit, you can bend over and clean the floors. At least it looks like you're pretty good at that."
"Shit, if anything, you can go make us rice cakes. I don't know."
Yeah. "What do you guys eat? You got any space sushi up here or something like that? As long as it doesn't move, I'm fine with it."
"I just want my shit dead when I eat it."
Yeah, dead, and burnt.
"You didn't even kill it in front of me. I don't give a shit. I just want it dead when I eat it."
Chop its head off, right on my table, so I can watch its eyes and its soul slowly leave from its face.
I'm just imagining just like that scene of somebody just like putting down like some kind of like alien space fish. Like they just bring an axe down. He just sits there like emotionless, just looking at it very sternly. Just like a faint grin once its tail like slowly starts to flop.
"What are we having for dessert around here? Hey, that monkey over here, cut a hole in this table, we'll shove its head up in there, latch it in, and we'll just cut the top of its head off and eat its brains out while it's still alive."
It's either that or that boy's soccer ball.
You're that boy. I don't know. I'll take that. He looks kind of like a monkey. Oh, geez, Kale, you can't be saying that. He's playing soccer. What do you think I'm talking about? You know, there's a white kid over there. He looks like a monkey, too. I'm white. I feel like I understand, but I'm not playing soccer, so you know what I mean?
Just backpedals. "I just want to eat his ball." Well, it's not even edible. Like, I just want to bring misery to that child.
In fact, I plan on popping this ball before we leave this planet, just letting you know.
So they have the whole montage too, by Lit like "I'm in over my head," which is like the big song they used to sell this movie on, And that's also the first song on the soundtrack. And they get this thing done, and they get it all ready. First has trouble going, and like Kima says, it's not going. Like, should I get out and push? And then all of a sudden it just shoots up in the red and just takes off.
He's like, no, you don't need to get out and push. Yells out the window, hey kids, give me a push.
Yeah, that's why they're down there. Why we're up here.
What about the rockets on the bottom? That's okay. They can handle it. Look at the tan that kid's got.
I love the idea. They're in a spaceship, and he has like the little, like, old school roller window.
Rolls it down and yelling down at him. Yelling like 6 stories down.
Hey! Push it! Just rolls it back up.
It'll be like your football practice. You know, you're just getting in there. You're just pushing out the soccer in you.
Just get all that field fairy like magic out of you. Field fairy demons out of you.
Yeah, this isn't fucking Fern Gully now. Come on.
That was 7 years ago.
Yeah, I mean, I know it's the same movie studio, but fuck it, I can make a callback. I'm like the Deadpool of this time period.
As it's going into space, he's like, "Oh shit!" Just forgets to roll up the window. Like, let's roll this up real quick. Oh, that was a close one.
Oh god, it's stuck. It's stuck. Shit, who was supposed to be fixing the roll-up windows now?
I'm gonna blame the soccer ball kid. It's just all I know at this point.
Yeah. He's just my worst enemy on here. You know what? I'm really thinking about not letting him come to Planet Earth too.
So then they go to, like, they find out where the fucking Titan is, and it's just basically encapsulated in this field of like all these ice, which an earlier name for this movie was Planet Ice.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like, oh, it's just all leading up to this, I guess. I wonder, like, how many things it had before Planet Ice. It's like, well, how about we just Titan A.E. Or if they're just like, we're going to Planet Ice the whole time, and the fact that this thing is encapsulated by ice is probably how it got there. But the Valkyrie is the name of the ship that Bill Pullman, Crusoe, drives. And they're already there. They're trying to get in. And that's when they realize they're cutting through. The Dredge are on their way through there, too. So it's like almost this 3-way fight. And they get across that Goon and Stiff were not in on the whole, like, mutiny thing that Preed and Pullman were trying to pull off.
It's not really a mutiny because he is the captain.
I guess you're right, not a mutiny, but I guess just this whole, like, backstabbing secret deal they had with the Dredge. Mm-hmm. So then they're going there. They have this whole little like cat and mouse things. There's reflections everywhere in the ice. They can't tell which one's real. And they get through. They get to the ship, and they were going through like, oh wow, they got all these DNA and samples of all these creatures from Earth. And then they come down and they get a hologram for the dad. Dad, voiced by Ron Perlman's like, yo, son, sorry. I'm dead. Just kind of happened that way. I just imagine he's like in an opium den somewhere, just like, fuck it, what's the point? I hid the ship, the kid could find it, be a real fucking man, do something other than play with this stupid little like boat toy at the beginning, which I took with me. Fuck him.
I wanted him to get a real job when he got into space.
So that's why I took his boat toy from him, and it's waiting. He can have it back when he's a real man and finds the Titan. So he's talking to his son. So here's the thing. Yeah, I'm dead. Sorry I broke my promise. But in the Titan, it's not active right now. But what's going to happen is you got to find a way to charge it up, and then it has the ability to create a planet. It was never made to find a planet. It was made to create a planet. And that's where the Dredge get there. Crusoe gets there and with Preed, and Crusoe and Preed fight Akima and Kale, and it's this really kind of like rough and tumble fight, and like Preed flat out just bitch slaps Akima and like punches her in the face at one point. Like, that's pretty harsh for a kid's cartoon.
Yeah, I know. It's got like some kind of like violent action kind of going on there, which makes it kind of cool. So that's the thing, is this movie's kind of got that mixed match where it feels like you could see the total PG-13 like, you know, movie in here, but then you could also it'll go back and forth between being kind of like, oh, there's the cartoon moments, you know, and so on. All I picture I just want to say is with the Ron Perlman dad talk on the thing is like, you know, since I haven't seen you in many years, I don't know how well your education is, but just to let you know, all those samples over there, that is not, you know, a Rockstar Monster Bar. Do not be drinking those. Just saying.
Do not be taking shots.
You know, I don't know what you've been doing for the last 12 years. You know what I mean? I like to assume you went to Harvard in space, but we all know that a lot of times just doesn't happen with a father and son.
That startup kind of failed. You kind of need that dad to tell him, go to school. Otherwise, chances are you're probably pushing space junk somewhere in some shithole, dead-end job, and you got some sense of pride in that. You got some sense of pride about that. He's just like, put his head down, like, fuck.
How does he know?
I didn't know you. I knew you'd fuck it up. I knew you'd be a disappointment. Why do you think I left you in the first place? Anyway, figure out how to save the human race. Bye.
He just leaves off. Oh yeah, by the way, it looks like some guys are showing up from behind. What? Just turns off, and then the other guys come up. How do you know to record that? But no, now they just had the battle here, and it's just like the Dredge are coming, and they're like charging up their laser cannons and so on. It's like, we gotta fucking, stop them and so on. Then it turns out that Nathan Lane or whatever, fucking Preed comes in. He's like, oh, guess what? I got a deal too, And somehow, some way, they offered great health benefits that they wouldn't like chop my head off or whatever he says.
Mm-hmm. Well, I thought even as a kid, I thought it was a good line. He's just like, it wasn't just the money they were offering; it was the healthcare plan.
Yeah, he's like, it was the healthcare plan. And then he kind of says something about, like, if I bring you guys out, I stay alive.
Mm-hmm. Says, I kill you. They'll let me live, provided I kill all of you. They should be here shortly. There's a time I could, say this whole movie by heart. There's a time. Some of the lines still stick. Mm-hmm. And that's when they get there and it quickly turns into I guess kind of a three-way fight. Because then you got, you got Curso, Kel, and Akima, and then Preed. And then from there, Curso just snaps his neck and just tosses his floppy body down the fucking stairs. And then, I want to say he's about to attack Akima, and then Kale tackles him. They go off a ledge. He grabs him by the arm and saves him. He's like, you let go, kid. I wouldn't blame you if I did. He goes, no, I'm not letting you go. And then he drops him by accident, but he catches onto some cords and sees he survives. Like, okay, so then from there they go to try and... The idea is that, okay, so what's going to happen? Remember... I noticed this because, we're a bunch of, this is back when Pokemon was in its full swing. Tell me if you saw this. The part when they pull up the map of the generator or whatever, of the Titan, looks like a Pokeball for a second. Did you see that?
It does sort of look like one. I don't know if that's just coincidence or whatnot, because...
It had to be coincidence, but I'm just saying, I remember, because as soon as that happened, I remember, in the theater, three of my friends dude, a Pokeball!
Because, think about the movie's probably... Well, but when they're making the movie and putting it all together, they probably designed that before Pokemon really even made a dent in the U.S. yet. But by the time the movie finally came out, Pokemon was in its full swing of its second year or something.
Well, it's just a coincidence. I just noticed that when you look at the map of the generator or whatever, in the center there's just a circle with a line through it with another circle in the middle. So it's just a very simple. I think that's the most genius of that thing is you see that, you think that it's a very simple thing to make. So a kid sees that, that's your first place your mind goes to.
Exactly.
But so then they're like, okay, well, what we can do is we can reverse engineer the programming to this thing. So once they shoot down, we can suck up all their energy and literally let them be the power source for this fucking thing. And they going out there to do that. And by this point, they tried to Crusoe is like, oh yeah, those other two, they're coming to a problem. I got to figure something out to do. And Preed's like, oh, I'm already taking care of it. He tried to bomb him, but then, you think Goon's dead, but then, it turns out he's alive. And then Stith comes in, tries to help him out. And Matt Damon, Kale, is going out there trying to get the power generator going. Crusoe comes out like, hey, kid, change your mind. You proved me that humanity does have a chance. Let's do this shit. And from there, he gets shot, and this is where one of those scenes where, I'm surprised it's in the movie. He's shot, but you see there's like 3D blood coming from him, and he's just trying to hold his wound down.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so it's got that, and it gets to the point where it's like they can't get the last kind of thing working. So he's like, you go on, kid. I'll stay here. I'll do it. It's like, no, man, you got to come. He's like, no, man, it's a one-way trip for me. Ain't nothing left on this way. It's better this way. You know what I mean?
Then he gives a nod and flies off, and then. That's when the ship's coming down, the energy beam's coming down, and what he does is... Because what's happening is the power things, these... whatever it is, these chargers are supposed to clap down and connect to each other and create a charge, but they can't reach. So what he does is he jams his gun in there so they meet, and so the power charge can go, and he's holding it while he's bleeding out and getting electrocuted. And they said, apparently... I thought it was obvious he was dead, but I guess I read some interviews that, oh, well, they wanted to keep it, obscure whether he lived or died, like up to the audience. Maybe he popped up in a sequel if that ever happened. Like, I always assumed he was fucking dead right there.
I'm assuming he's like way beyond dead. Literally, he's sitting in in the connector. He just shoves that gun up in there, so he is part of like the whole like bonding of this. So I'm pretty sure
he's holding it. Yeah.
Yeah, he's pretty much just electrocuted and dead by this point.
While bleeding out in space.
Yeah, while bleeding out in space.
So then what ends up happening is then the ship starts to shoots out as it absorbs the dread and its entire mothership and all that. It starts to spin around all the ice and collects all the space junk, all forming together in this big like metal in this big fiery ball. It flies out and then creates a ship. It creates a planet, and they're going down there. And like, yay, we did it! And they have like this nice moment. It's kind of funny to me. It's kind of like Akima and Kale are down there having this moment, like, we did it. And then all of a sudden, like, the alien characters fly by in the Valkyries, like, yeah, we did it! We're not really allowed on the planet because Kale said we're not human enough.
Yeah, you get the fuck out of here, you non-tax-paying aliens.
And that's where you see, like, they have this moment, they're about to kiss, and the ship goes by, and they're all excited, like, oh, we did it. We actually did it. And he says, like, I'm going to call the planet Bob. Like, you can't call a planet Bob.
Fuck
like,
you, my planet just pushes her over.
Credits.
Just starts smacking her, just like credits, no music, just like a beating sound. Like, don't you fucking tell me what to call planet. I worked my ass off at the space factory to get here.
Puts my ass. You're gonna tell me how to run my planet that I created?
He just becomes just like this angry blue collar guy. Like, you sound like you've been drinking again. Well, yeah, I just found some space whiskey, and you know what? I thought I deserved it after what I just did.
My dad's dead. I'm all alone. No one understands me. I understand you. Shut the fuck up.
Fuck up, woman. A woman can't understand a man's problems.
That's where it's like, God, we got to do some rewrites to this draft right here.
We have really made Kale like a very abusive guy now.
I get the idea if you want him
off as the lovable douche, but now he's just gotten to the point now where it's almost gone too far.
He's gone full tilt MAGA. No, but like, so then from there, like, he's like, oh, well, it just makes a small joke, like, we'll call it Planet Bob. Like, why can't we just call it Earth? They're about to kiss, and the ship flies by, they wave at him, zooms out, that's where you see a bunch of human space colonies coming in, like, you know, Kale's just like, yeah, sure, after the work's done, you want to come in and move here.
Exactly. Seems just like
you see the soccer kid peeking through the window.
He's like, yeah, exactly. You see that kid right there? It's the only way he's thinking, just like, yeah, of course I put all the work in, you know.
I think his main problem with the kid is because the kid accidentally kicked the ball in the back of his head.
Oh yeah, I kind of forgot about that. Yeah, that's like what set him off.
It's like he has not forgiven the kid for that. So he's like, you just made a powerful enemy.
Exactly.
As soon as the ship gets there, it's like, where's that kid? Where's that kid?
We got a pickaxe with his name on it.
Get to work.
Dig me this ditch. I want a moat around my castle that I'm going to build. And get your friends here, too. They can start working on the wall. And no, you can't live inside my wall.
It's mine. Oh, mine. I worked hard for this. Even though I'm only 22.
He's like, hey, I had to work since I was 8 years old. I feel like I've earned it by this point.
Well, he's clearly a little kid when he's like, I want to say, I'm not sure if he's as old, if he's as young as 5, but when he's a little kid at the beginning.
Maybe he is even younger. So he's like, I've worked.
He says, I'm older than, he says, when you're older, kid, like, I'm older than 4, so.
Yeah, so it means he's 5.
So, and it says 15 years later, so, I mean, he's only 20.
Yeah, so he's been working a hard job for 15 years.
He's been working a hard job. As soon as he probably got to that space colony, like, I don't give a shit if you're only 5. Put on this helmet. Here's a chainsaw. Go cut some shit.
Yeah, this is the first job I got when I showed up at the space factory.
It's like what was it in Aqua Teen Hunger Force when Carl has a flashback to his child, like, oh, look, Daddy, you got me. Like, what was it? Like, he has, like, his dad is just like how he is now in present. Only he just has, like, a fucking, like, afro or something. He says, like, oh, Daddy, you got me some carpet for Christmas. Oh, best look, Daddy, I'm, like, flying Egypt land. Yeah, don't get too attached to that. We gotta eat that for dinner. They'd be like, but when we're done with that, we gotta go back to the factory. Oh, what do you mean? Put on your respirator. I had to pull a lot of strings with the boss to get a job, to get him to hire a 7-year-old. But Daddy, it's Christmas. I don't give a shit.
It's like, that's exactly what fucking Kale's life is like.
That's what made him what he is now. I just love that. I'm flying a coffin in Egypt land. I can't explain why that's so fucking funny to me.
Oh, and then that's just the end of Titan A.E. And, whatever happens from this point on, Kale sets up his, his new Earth factory where he has fucking these kids making fucking Nikes that he can sell to, other aliens.
He used to look up at the alien with the monocle and the top hat, and he's like, one day that'll be mine.
Exactly, that's who I want to be now.
He doesn't have empathy, he just wants that. He's like, he almost respects that. Like, he did what he had to do to be where he is now. I will have that.
I know, that's just what he wants to become. He's like, just when I thought I got out, they pulled me back in.
The war's never over. I'll say this, they probably don't use anything, they probably avoid trying to use electricity just because, the fucking... if they did do a sequel, I could see some shit like... There's just me spitballing here. If, which is never going to happen, unless they try in years later, like, you know what, fuck it. Reboot this thing, which I don't think that will happen either, but possibility.
Well, also, Fox was like, the second this movie came out and didn't do that well, they're like, shut it down. Shut it all down. They're like, well, maybe we could convert this. And like, no, just, you know what, burn it down. I don't want to see any of this animation anymore on this lot anymore. We're converting it over to this CG now. It's all about the 3D world. We're going to make this movie called Ice Age. It's the way of the future. Burn down this old 2D stuff.
Well, I could even... Well, a lot of times...
Don Bluth's still inside. I don't care. Just burn it down with him.
Like, I'm one of the... Well, the thing is, like, I know neither of us work, like, in, like, fucking executive types or anything like that, but at the same time, I could almost imagine just it being when they... The thing that makes me angry about this shit is, like, whenever, like, a movie does bad, they almost immediately, like, oh, this fucking director fucked it up, or this producer fucked it up. Like, maybe it was all this studio interference of you guys crowbarring in and training shit. Like, you fucked it up! Get rid of it! They don't understand it! It's like, because you guys keep fucking this shit up. You guys keep on crowbarring in all these dumb ideas or keep on changing things and setting things back. It wasn't this movie's... I don't think it was this movie's fault. I bet I don't know the original script, and I think what we got is a good movie, but,
Yeah, I think it's a really good film all in all. Like, I like it quite a bit. But I think it is one of those ones that, like, sometimes I feel like if you got people, especially when you got people that are, like, kind of, like, guaranteed, like, okay, they kind of know what they're doing. You know what I mean? Like, Don Bluth and Gary Goldman... It's almost like one of those ones, just make a cap. Be like, don't spend more than $30,000 or $30 million, and that's our only request. Do not go over $30 million. That is the one goal, is do not go over that. Other than that, though, you can do whatever you want. If you happen to go over the $30 million, though, that's when we can start coming in and, fucking, like, doing what we need to do to get this finished.
Mm-hmm.
Just make, like, a rule. Because, I also kind of get at the same time, though, like, you look at the fucking money this movie made compared to how much it cost. And this movie was supposed to be the movie that's be like, hey, this is the make or break film. If this movie doesn't do it, you guys are all shit out of luck for jobs. So, granted, like, you almost could see it kind of happening.
Well, at the same time, I think that's almost too much pressure to put on, like, one movie, especially when this is a thing that's kind of going up and down because of studio interference. I noticed, like, the more nervous they get and the more they try to intervene, the more likely a thing's going to get fucked up. I mean, maybe there are some examples where, like, oh, wow, that's really... fine-tuned thing came out really good, but a lot of times when you just hear like this back and forth, I'm not saying the director is always right, but I usually lean more on the side of the director than the studio.
And I think if you look at it the other way, like almost like just to take it from like both sides, is like I think a lot of times the fear of the director sometimes to like some of the studio people is like some of those directors can kind of get out of hand and not realize like how much money and time they're wasting. I think that's always the studio fear, is that the director's going to be like just fucking out there like on a crusade without like any rhyme or reason on like how this thing actually gets put together.
Where the director's afraid the studio's going to come in, change this stupid thing, it's going to fuck up the movie, and it still has their name attached to it. So
yeah, I
understand it on both sides of that, but it's just one of those things. Like, I think that just hearing how this thing was in limbo hell for like in production hell for like 4 or 5 years before they actually really started production on it. It's just like, why did it fucking take you that long to figure that out? So, but whatever, regardless, I still like the movie we got. It's not a perfect movie, but it's definitely a fun, enjoyable movie. And if you like sci-fi and you like animation, then definitely check it out.
Yeah, I definitely think it's one of those movies, like, for anybody who's, like, really into animation, I feel like Titan A.E. is a film that's, like, I would say high on the list of, like, you know, I would almost even say, like, in like, top 25 theatrical, like, kind of, or, like, just full, you know, movie-length animations. I would say Titan A.E. is actually up there as, like, something that, like, you should. If there was, like, if you had to check out 25 movies, if I had to recommend to somebody who was just getting into animation, I'd be like, yeah, put Titan A.E. on the list. That should definitely be on there.
Yeah, definitely.
Because, I mean, sadly enough, it's like this is kind of gone, and this is sort of like, you know, this is like the tail end time period of 2D animations as far as theatrical releases go. So it is kind of like, you know, there's only a couple more years past this point where, you know, movies came out, and then from that point on, it's been CG since then. Kind of a bummer. It would be kind of neat to see, like, Titan A.E. reminds me of, like, one of those things, like, I don't know who the heck has the rights or whatnot, but it would make for, like, a cool, like, if somebody came out and said, like, hey, let's do, like, a Boom Studios comic and do, like, 6 or 12 issues of, like, another, like, a Titan A.E. sequel or something like that.
I was going to say, if you did want to do a sequel, I mean, this might be... something I guess you could do, and I'm not saying this would have to be it. I'm saying I would like to see other villains and other problems happen, but maybe if you want to bring the Dredge back in some way, you could be like, oh, well, the Titan's been inactive for some years, but somehow it got turned back on, and like, oh, the Dredge are still in there, and they're kind of controlling this thing, so now they're controlling the Titan, and that's a huge problem. They've converted that thing to a weapon or something.
Yeah, because they could, like, travel through, like, you know, they could travel through, like, the power lines and so on, and go through the Earth and what have you.
Turn their weapons against them. It's like, okay, well, we got trapped into this thing. We'll just wait for them to get more civilized and wait for them to get more technology. So then they turn all their technology against them or something like that.
That's what I mean. Is I just feel like it's one of those kind of universes that I would love to see more from it. And obviously you can see where things that kind of came from it almost like, you know, took it to like another way. Like, you know, Firefly almost feels like it's not that far off from being kind of related to Titan A.E. You know, Mass Effect, I feel like, feels very heavily influenced by Titan A.E. Whether or not they say it or not, it just has like the look and the feel, and almost like a lot of the story and characters almost feel like something kind of out of Titan A.E. just done in like a more adult setting.
Yeah. Definitely check the movie out. It's worth your time if you're into that kind of stuff.
But yeah, we'll leave a little link in the description down there if you want to grab it on either DVD or Blu-ray or even a digital copy from Amazon. Help support the podcast at the same time without costing you any extra. But till then, check out oldmanorange.com for more podcasts, comics, videos, and more. Check out Pizza Boys the comic on Comix Central, Comixology, and Amazon. Until then, I'm Spencer Scott Holmes.
And I'm Ryan Dunigan.
We'll see you some other time.
Later, folks.
Thanks again for listening to the Old Man Orange podcast. Be sure to check out oldmanorange.com for more podcasts, comics, animations, videos, and a whole lot more. You can easily support the show by buying something from one of our Amazon links on the website or in the show's description itself. Doesn't cost you a penny, but every single thing you buy from there just by using that link to take you to Amazon helps us out a bit. You can also really help the show out, though, by spreading the word the good old-fashioned way. And rate and review us on all the sites that you find this podcast. Anything from iTunes to Podbean to Newgrounds, YouTube, you name it. Any little bit helps. Give a sub and share it to your friends, family, any jamoke you see out on the street. You let them know about Old Man Orange Podcast. And be sure to check out the Old Man Orange comic book Pizza Boys on both Amazon and Comixology. Till then, we'll see you some other time.